Here we go. Here's a good question from Marlo Chris Snoop. Are there any good careers I can get into related to Bitcoin? All I do is watch crypto and charts all day at work. Might as well work in a career I'm passionate about. I'm in consulting right now. Well, I would say a couple things to that. If you're in consulting right now, that means you have good customer service, which I think is going to be in demand. I think the future we're heading to here, everybody worries about AI and robots replacing their jobs, and they will. But I also think that there's going to be a very large demand for human to human interaction. So if you can find a business that caters to that, whether it's consulting, whether it's something along those lines, customer service, people are always going to crave and need human interaction with each other. And if you're a good communicator, that's going to be a huge skill in the future. If you're good at memorizing numbers and spreadsheets, you're going to have a job for a little while, but you'll be probably replaced, unfortunately. But if you have good people skills, I think that it's going to be in high demand. And I think there's going to be a lot of new people who are looking to get into Bitcoin. QuickBit is a perfect example of that. They have a brick and mortar here in Regina. And that's what people need. People want a face-to-face interaction when they're dealing with money. So I would say that's one option for somebody who's in that same position, would be get into like Bitcoin consulting. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like helping people buy Bitcoin and send it to their wallet. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of those people. But if you can specialize in something related to Bitcoin, whatever that is, whether it's like business adoption for Bitcoin, whether it's Bitcoin mining, fitting houses, join up with a plumber in your area, something like that. A lot of things like that. But the other thing too that I would say is, depending on what you consult with, like start a YouTube channel, because this is where everything's going to right now. Everything's going towards the attention economy, where people's attention, that's what you're going to get paid for. If you can find somebody's attention and if you can hold their attention, you're going to do very well in the future. So depending on what you consult on, depending on what your expertise is in, I would highly suggest starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, starting a Zap.stream channel, and just grow it. And don't expect a whole lot of things to happen right off the start. It's a very long game, just like Bitcoin. But if you start building it today, when the time comes, you're going to be ready for it. Right? And this is a really good question. I love talking about this stuff because it's important, because there's a lot of Bitcoiners out there who are asking the same kind of question right now. But the next thing there you have to understand is, if you are good with customer service, if you are good with consulting and helping people, there's going to be tens of millions of companies on Earth. Everybody's going to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So they're going to need help buying Bitcoin. They're going to need help protecting their Bitcoin. They're going to need help managing their Bitcoin in terms of layer 1, Lightning, Liquid, eCash, setting up their payables. That whole thing is going to just be a massive industry. And there's going to be tens of millions of companies around the world who are going to need help with that. And if you're watching crypto and charts and Bitcoin stuff and you're learning, you just have to understand how valuable that information is, because all of those companies are going to either need a consultant or they're going to need a full-time employee, depending on the size of the business. But the head of Bitcoin strategy is going to be a huge job in the future, because there's such a huge disconnect between the amount of people who have knowledge and people who are going to need that knowledge, and businesses and governments, municipalities. So that's another one. And then the last thing I would say on that is, whatever kind of consulting you do, look into starting your own. I'm guessing you're probably your own business, but if not, I would say get really good at that. And whatever you do, get really good at that. Make a bunch of money, and all the profits, all of your cash flow, put that into Bitcoin. And as your balance sheet, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the value of your company is going to go up with it. And then you can afford to market your company. And then you can afford to hire the best people, because you're going to have such a huge egg sitting there. Leverage, future leverage. That's what you're buying with Bitcoin, whether in your personal life or your business life. But that's what you're buying, is future leverage with Bitcoin. So any of those three things, I think you're going to be sitting pretty. But the main thing, and that's how I would end this, would be, don't wait. because understand the opportunity right now. Understand how hard it is for a lot of people, and understand that gap that I talked about between people with knowledge and people who need that knowledge. There's a huge gap, but there's going to be people coming, and it's going to fill that. The gap's going to start going like this. So what you need to do is just start, whatever it is. Even if your YouTube channel or your podcast gets 5 listens or 200 subscribers for the first 2 years, that doesn't matter. You're rehearsing, you're practicing for when the time comes and you need to use those skills or whatever it leads to. So don't wait. Start today.